Hello, it's Brian again. I just heard that it may go to the Supreme Court on some issues with affirmative action. And I don't know how you can simplify stuff that's been happening ever since the 60s when Johnson was president. Now, there were some programs that were made. Some of them were really good, and some of them were scaled back. The best one, was uh, where you could get schooling. The schooling's the most important thing. Um, so anyway, Head Start was that program. But anyhow, back we, this is a blended thing. There's so many facets here, but. When Johnson was president, my granddad, one day he got his Social Security check and it said health, education, and welfare. So he and all his friends says, well, wait a minute, we're on Social Security. We're not on welfare. So none of them cashed their checks. And then, the next month, they all had the heading Social Security again. Now, the best program that would have been an investment in this country would have been Head Start. But anyway, schooling is important. Now, my wife came to this country, and at about that time, she was she was just a kid. Maybe it was a little later. But anyway, she got bused from her location to another location. She didn't speak English. She spoke French. And the first thing that happened, some girl, it was just another girl. And I don't know if it was seventh grade or fifth grade or whatever. It might have been even fourth grade, but she didn't know English, and man, she got smacked because she got to a rough area. But the thing is, we need the kind of schools that are going to get people to have commanding jobs. Now, the kids and young folks and college students that go to a lot of colleges, they end up owing a lot of money and don't end up with commanding jobs. And right now, this country is dependent on most of its manufacturing from overseas. Now, a commanding job, when I was in junior high, I guess it was a decent neighborhood. We had wood shop, and then in high school, in 10th grade, and those things, metal shop, auto shop, wood shop. I think we need to have those things and some basic engineering, nursing, and agricultural studies so that we can be self-reliant. And we're not as self-reliant as we should be. If you're not self-reliant, if you cut the leg off a starfish, it grows back. It can rely on itself to grow back. And if you had a town that produced most of it, or at least half of its own necessities, it becomes more self-reliant. And the key to that for people that are able to do things is education, K through 12. Now, everybody's talking about all this the equal opportunity, that program. I had my friend's dad. He worked as an aircraft mechanic. I mean, he and his wife had to go in the trunk of a car to get out of Hungary, and yet, and he spoke to his way of speaking English, but they picked him up, and he was installing aircraft instrumentation, and they had to hire certain folks, and if that person wasn't able to do the instruments correctly, they'd lose money. And he said, heck, I don't mind affirmative action as long as the company gets reimbursed. Now, if I was on something and I'm sent somewhere, I want to have a background to do the things right. I don't care who I am, what color I am, or anything else. I don't like to be in a position. And I don't like it when people don't say, hey, this is how you do it. You need a hand up. So it's K through 12, not just college that's putting everybody, here we are sending tax money, to these deans. They make $300,000 a year. They're also charging high tuition. if you want to pay back, it's the people, let these colleges help say, you know what, we're going to reduce our rates. Maybe we can give you some kickbacks because some of our faculty is getting overpaid. But anyway, it's K through 12, and it's not got to be based. It can't be based on local taxes. If you're in Compton, your local taxes isn't going to be high enough to support really high-end schools. Well, the schools need to be high-end, whether you're in Beverly Hills or Compton or on an Indian reservation. So we got to figure out how to get mentorship. I worked thank God I joined the union in my early 50s. That helped because it increased the amount of pay, and I'm glad. Unions that are able to compete, I have no problem. This union competed just fine. So I was working with a guy that learned most of his industrial work in Georgia, and he wanted to go to other places and sign up with other local unions to do work. And here I am. I got in a little late. I'd done some residential electrical and maybe a little commercial electrical, but I hadn't had a lot of experience with industrial, and we're over on a job where it was solar, but not just solar panels. It was, heating up a turbine and with steam and generating electricity. So we were piping and stuff, and they were pairing people up. And George from Georgia, black guy, I says, man, we got paired up. I says, are you pretty good on this? And I said, if you say jump, I'll jump. We ended up being because he had some industrial, and I'm a person that likes to learn and is ready to do things. We ended up, they called a meeting about ready to fire all the local guys, and me and George, they said, we're the example, So sometimes if you get a person that helps you, and whether it's a black person helping a white person, or a white person helping a black person, a rich person helping a poor person, that's what we got to do. We are all climbing up this ladder, and we need to have success. But success needs to start in K through 12, and it can't be based on local taxes. So all the bullshit that's happened, it's got to be focused on people getting out of high school and be able to have commanding jobs. And if there's certain things they want to learn after that, it needs to be, heck, you could go to a junior college and take a couple classes. It was a lot cheaper. I don't know how the hell everything got so expensive. But the way to break the ceiling, for people getting stuck in certain positions is to have better high schools and junior highs and people that are mentoring and helping, because sometimes the underwater basket weaving that put you $40 or $50 or $60,000 in debt isn't going to help. And then when we got somebody making $400K for the education superintendent here in Vegas, and then the 8 people on the board taking $10,000 class here and a $10,000 class there to learn how to get along, it seems like, wow, the focus here is not on the students, it's on our political staying in our little positions and having our incomes. And that's a crock. We got to focus on getting people to get commanding jobs and have a stronger middle class that'll help crime go down, and we'll manufacture more stuff at home. Heck, it doesn't need to be Ford or Dodge or GM. There need to be some small people doing some creative stuff, and for the future, building little vehicles that are for close to home, where you can have stuff that hardly takes any energy. We're going to have to reduce the use of energy, and creative people don't need to be in a giant company, but they can be in a big company. But like my granddad, he was hired by RCA in the 20s to work on moving facsimile, a predecessor to TV. He only had a 7th grade education, but he had the Navy. He was an aircraft radioman in the 20s. And then he did things with tires that the big companies started looking at how the little guys are doing it, and kind of, that's just the way it goes, even if you have patent pendings. But at least we're out. You got to have people out with some kind of knowledge to be productive, whether, and try to protect the little guy too, because we need a lot more companies, small companies, and people that are creative, that have some skill sets, and they can be made in K through 12, so people aren't in debt for underwater basket weaving. Thanks for your time. Bye.